A decade has passed since the death of the Joker and subsequent revival of his latest victim, Dick Grayson, who has made a full recovery, and even more so, after leaving the Lazarus Pit and more so after being fully revived by the dragonballz. His life force has increased many times over, and he has also mastered ki control, gaining that inherent mastery that other races have, but humans lack in this story. He has achieved superhuman status, and even more so after being given the Red Lantern ring Bruce once was going to use to kill the Joker, although he never got the chance. Instead, now it is being used to protect Batman's most valuable possession, his son, and the ring's color has changed once more, originally being yellow, then red through rage, and now a violet color, symbolizing the love between father and son. But it's not just a symbol. Being an artifact of the Violet Lantern core, it actually does channel Bruce Wayne's love for his family into a powerful weapon for Dick Grayson to wield. In the last 10 years, Bruce Wayne has actually hung up the mantle of Batman, no longer needing it to defend the city, because being a very high political figure, he's able to keep the city safe from all sorts of evils behind the scenes. He was able to achieve what he wanted to at the beginning of this story. With all of this time on his hands without any major threat, he was able to bring poverty to an all-time low and set up multiple mental health centers. That way, the big bads of Gotham never turned into the same murderous psychopaths they were, although there were some situations, some people who wouldn't be able to change, which is where Nightwing comes in. Batman always needed to stick to a code because even though he was a good person at heart, he could be easily corrupted. We've seen as much in this story. Nightwing, on the other hand, would never go down that same path. Sure, he could eventually be pushed there, but with the likes of the Joker out of this story, I doubt he ever will. And with all the work that Bruce Wayne was doing behind the scenes, the most Nightwing ever really had to deal with were some teenagers trying to score some quick cash by robbing a store, or on a more serious note, Joker copycats, although none of them were able to come close to the real thing. Nightwing himself actually did find a sidekick though, a protege, somebody to learn under him, that way if anything ever happens to Dick Grayson, there will always be somebody else to protect Gotham. Well, aside from Bruce, but he's retired. His student's name is Jason Todd, and even though he's rowdy at first, Dick is able to get that temper under control and teach him to be a genuinely good force for the city. In a couple of weeks, he went from stealing the wheels off Nightwing's bike to helping little old ladies cross the road. Truly a change for the better. Which is also what could be said for the rest of the world. With the Justice League in full effect, the entire planet is becoming a better place. It seems as if world peace has been achieved. Although that is until John Stewart, the Green Lantern who trained Dick Grayson to use his lantern powers, arrives warning of an impending threat. He's side by side with Shin and Kibito, two Kais, gods of the universe, who are currently attempting to stop the revival of the universe's biggest threat. A man named Bobby, a wizard from space, is trying to revive Majin Buu, harness his power to conquer the universe. And if anyone is going to be able to stop it, it has to be the Justice League, but more specifically, the Bat family, who are by far the strongest people on Earth. The Kais offered Dick Grayson and his father training. That way they'd be able to properly combat Buu if he was revived. It's probably impossible to actually overpower the Majin, although keeping him occupied long enough for Supreme Kai to seal him away is definitely possible. But either way, they're still going to need to be stronger if they want to stand a chance. But Bruce actually denies this. He doesn't want to go off to train just to fight another battle. His Saiyan blood has for the longest time been calmed. He doesn't want to fight anymore. He doesn't want to see the Earth in danger either, although he believes that everybody else should have this covered. So he decides to stay on Earth, train in his own way. Although he definitely encourages Dick to partake in this training. He would need a little more convincing, although ultimately he does decide to go, telling Bruce to make sure Robin gets his necessary training while he's gone, because Jason Todd did take over the position of Robin, although Bruce has other plans. He promises to train him, although in his own way, rather than what Nightwing was probably expecting. On the realm of the Kais, the superhuman fighter would be able to pull the Z-Sword out of the stone, although it is incredibly hard. He wouldn't use his lantern ring to do so, believing that to be cheating, although he was still able to pull it out either way. And while training with the sword, he would get incredibly powerful. If you remember in the main story, just simply swinging it around was able to increase Gohan's power multiple times over. And the same thing happens here for Dick, as after only a couple of days preparing with the weapon, he's able to easily carry it around, not needing to exert that much effort. Ultimately though, he would accidentally break the Z-Sword on a block of Kachikachin, the strongest material in the universe, which Supreme Kai would have summoned to test out the weapon. Everybody is of course terrified when the Z-Sword snaps in half, although Elder Kai pops out and says he is thankful to be let free. In fact, he so thankfully offers to awaken Nightwing's potential, which would then commence. The ritual is long, although it's pretty easy to go over. You just have to sit in a circle while Elder Kai dances around you. It's definitely weird, although the power he gets from it is definitely worth it. He now has his own Super Saiyan-like transformation. In fact, it's even stronger than Super Saiyan, and probably even stronger than Bruce's Super Saiyan 2. Back on Earth, everybody is preparing for the fight to come. Nappa and Vegeta would be training together in Super Saiyan. This time, we get to see that Nappa is actually married to Diana. The two personalities matched quite well, and they even settled down having a kid. Vegeta is ultimately still a bachelor though. He would have had some off and on relations with one of the Amazonians, although he never really got hitched. He is a great mentor to the little... He is however a great teacher to Hippolyta, which would be the name of Nappa and Diana's daughter. She's still young, but she's a prodigy. She's already able to use Super Saiyan, and thanks to her Amazonian potential, she's actually catching up to the prince and her father quite quickly. Although she is still a kid, so this is just the beginning of her story. Sadly though, it does take place in the end of ours. Nevertheless, eventually the wizard known as Babidi would wreak havoc on the earth, arriving and killing numerous souls to draw the attention of the strongest warriors. Thanks to the Warlock's ability to revive the dead, he would bring back some of the strongest villains from each of our respective heroes' stories, like the Reverse Flash, Doomsday, and even General Zod, who would be so incredibly powerful even Superman can't fight him on his own. Supergirl would try and help her cousin, although Doomsday is more than enough to fill her hands as well. Barry is a great support, although the Flash is currently being held up by his own greatest challenge. Thankfully, the Joker wasn't very strong, so there was no need to bring him back. So Batman is able to assist the rest of the heroes in taking down their greatest foes. Nappa would assist his wife in taking down Ares, the god of war. Before then, the two of them rush to help Kal-El. General Zod is probably the strongest person there, and if Superman falls against him, then they're all out of hope. Bruce sadly wouldn't be able to step in to help as well, seeing as he would be preoccupied with Deborah, the king of the demons. Normally, this wouldn't be too big of a challenge, seeing as his power is greatly surpassing that of Deborah, although Bruce does have to avoid his stone-turning spit. But being the world's greatest mind, he would use Deborah's own power against him, redirecting one of his attacks down towards the Reverse Flash. Wally West would hold him in place, while Batman uses Deborah's spit to turn him to stone. Then the Flash duo as well as Batman go to assist the Kryptonians. Doomsday is about to land a fatal hit on Supergirl, although Batman steps in the way, taking it and tanking it. Using Super Saiyan 2, he then fires a Kamehameha that completely eviscerates the fake Kryptonian. Both of them then head to take down General Zod with the rest of the gang, and although it is incredibly difficult, they would eventually be able to overpower the Kryptonian and send him back to hell where he came from. Although with seemingly all of the other threats defeated, Babidi raises the strongest possible creature he could, Darkseid. And even with everybody working together, this was still a threat they couldn't hope to overcome, at least until Bruce taps into an entirely new level of power, that being Super Saiyan 3. It uses almost all of his power to even maintain, although with a quick couple of punches, Darkseid is brought to the ground. Everybody collectively uses all of their strength to finally end the monster yet again, although all of this energy being released only leads to Boo's awakening. The Earth is doomed. None of them have enough power to even stand, yet alone face off against this all-powerful Majin. That is, until Dick Grayson reaches the battlefield. Nightwing shows off his ultimate form, being able to contend against Majin Buu at least for a little while. But seeing as the pink blob has regeneration, well, it's not looking too good for the Z-Fighters. That is, until Nightwing has an idea. He flashes his pink lantern ring and tells everybody to think about their loved ones, the people they care about, the ones they can't live without. Nappa and Diana look at each other and then their daughter. Vegeta looks at the Amazonian I was talking about before. They might not have had a concrete relationship, although they definitely still had feelings for each other. Alfred looks at Bruce. Bruce looks at Alfred and his son. Everybody in the world feeling this go down all looks at the people they care about most. And then Dick yells out, saying for everybody to lend him their power. If they want to protect those people, the people they care about most, they're all going to need to lend their strength. So everybody that can gives their power to Nightwing. The combined love and energy circling around everybody in the world, all funneling into Nightwing, leads to a power surpassing the gods. Buu looks on, not understanding the emotions in front of him. He's a soulless being, he can't feel this, so he doesn't understand it. And ultimately, that lack of connection, that just brute force stupidity, is going to be his undoing, as Majin Buu tries to put all of his power into one attack, stopping whatever this is before it gets too out of hand. Nightwing launches his own beam. It's said that the power of love conquers all, and here it completely eviscerates hatred, evil incarnate in the form of Majin Buu, completely erased by everyone's combined love and hope for each other. The brighter future that everybody was dreaming of has finally been achieved. The greatest threat to the world has been taken care of, and any others that arise will meet the same fate. And that's where we're going to be ending things for today. I could go into Super, although I don't feel like that would be very interesting, since ultimately Dragon Ball Super is just fight after fight after fight, with some story in between. But that's not to say I don't have ways I could continue this story. It's just Super isn't the way I would go about doing it. Maybe taking some elements and adding it to an entirely new story. This story was very narrative focused though. I don't feel like talking about how Superman fights against Hit and loses, but then Goku steps in and wins. And maybe I will revisit this topic if the full story does get enough attention. Let's say 1,000 likes and I'll make a bonus part or two. But that's up to you guys. With all this out of the way, this is, always has been, and always will be the Irishman. Talk to you later. Bye.